welcome back to From the Mind of Dick. Hope everyone's doing well wherever you may be. Today, I'm really excited. I got a very special guest, my little brother, someone I've known for probably over 30 years. Great father, amazing musician, all-around rock star, my boy Lyle Riddle. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Yeah, definitely good to see you, bro. Yeah, man. I've been waiting to do this for a long time, man. A long time. So I'm really excited about this. I think we have a lot to talk about, man. I know you got some amazing stories, and I want to pick your brain on some of those. So, but right now, like, what's up with these fires over there in California, dude? What's going on with that?
Man, it is so wild. Like, never in my wildest dreams would I think I would see flames that close to the Santa Monica Pier. Like, typically there's so much here, and just like it was just literally the perfect storm. But I mean, I'm good. You know, my family's good. I got out of Venice. I evacuated a couple days ago. I'm in San Bernardino now, but so many of my friends and fans and just people that that's their whole livelihood lost everything, man. It's just like I can't even wrap my head around it yet, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just my thoughts, and as lame as it is, thoughts and prayers, but I don't even know what we can do. Come together even more than ever as a community. Look out for each other.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, like we were talking earlier, and you said something about having to get your gear out of Hollywood, and at first I didn't really realize what you meant, and then I thought about it later. I was like, holy shit, his gear is going to burn. So I'm like, that's why you're getting your shit out.
Dude, it's been wild. Like, some of that stuff's just unreplaceable, you know? It's like first like equipment or like hand me down from other musicians, and it's like that's all I care about. I don't really have anything else nice. You know what I mean? This is like my music equipment. If I lose that, it's like I've got my kids and, you know, myself, but that's like second in line. So it's all secure. But again, I'm just trying to be there for anyone. So if you need help, hit me up. I'm still available. If you're hearing this.
Yeah. My kids, their schools closed down because of the air quality. I'm not sure if they're going to open back up on Monday, but I was worried about them because I saw that it was really close to them. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, I know they have fires all the time in LA and stuff, but like this was way too close to them. I was about to get a plane ticket and head down there but they said, no, we're fine. We're going to evacuate for a little bit. They don't have to evacuate, but they're just getting out because the air quality basically.
How quick that shit got out of control to begin with too. It's like, you don't even want to play, It's like, that's where I'm at. Like, my kids I usually spend, the second half of the week with them. And I was just like, as much as I want you here, the air is bad. Like, if something were to happen, play it safe, and stay down south where it's cool. But it looks like it's getting better though. There's hope, and there's a lot. And the cool thing again is like seeing how the community is stepping up. Like, I see my own friends putting out fires and running and rescuing pets, and just like, I guess the silver lining of that is to see how we all come together, putting our differences aside and just being there for each other, which is
100%. 100%. Yeah, the communities are definitely. I see a lot of videos of that. People just draining like pools and putting it in trash cans just to put out the little embers that are setting off around neighborhoods and stuff, because that's where everything starts. The wind blows the embers and then it just catches in another neighborhood, and it's ridiculous, man. It's crazy right now.
Dude. It literally looks like a hellstorm. It's like,
yeah. I've seen a lot of videos.
Yeah, I'm glad your kids are good, man. I know that's got to be tough being away, and you're a great father too.
Thank you, man.
And that was I've definitely looked up to you in many ways, and fatherhood is one of them. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, dude, I love watching your videos of your kids, bro. Like when you're always doing stuff with your kids, and swear you got the coolest kids, man. And I know they're future musicians, so that's gonna be awesome.
My daughter just had her first concert playing cello, and
nice.
It's real cool. Like she loves it, and like some of my band buddies in San Diego were gonna go. Like we're talking about Uncle Eric, and like she's like, Dad, if he comes, like tell him he can't smoke a cigarette in the auditorium. Like we're not gonna miss it for the world. And it was just like, it was really cool to hear that. I'm like, yeah, it's good, but it's so cool that they've been able to see that. And in a way, like segueing this completely, but like I felt very lucky to grow up with you, man, and you shaped so much of my musichood, being 12 and phone off the street, and just like that's all been. I feel like it kind of passes on to kids. It's like what we do it for, to influence the youth, if you will.
I think it's funny that you said like Uncle Eric, and that's obviously Eric Wilson.
Yeah,
it's like that's some shit. I mean, you're so humble on that shit, bro. It's just like the people you hang out with, they're just the homies, and for me, I'm like, that's like a legend right there. Like you're talking about, you hang out with like HR from Bad Brains. I'm like, dude, I remember listening to Bad Brains when I was in high school going like, this is amazing. You're like, that's my homie. I'm
Yeah,
like, what the hell, dude? Like, it's
it,
crazy.
man, it never gets old. Like I'm just like literally. I mean, we were playing. Me and I think the first CD we ever bought was like Sublime with Bonham, and it was like, I think like What For was going on in your band, and like me and Bonham had a band at the time. I forget. It's like I think Keith was recording us, and it was just pretty like new metal-y, but it was like we would always play the records, and like when we got that self-titled Sublime, like I was trying to play drums to like out and shit, and like that like shaped who I am as a player. It's weird to be like now this is like kind of my life or what I'm involved in, like my friends, and even more so seeing how cool and humble they are. Like they would have been right there hanging out the whole time, and just
Yeah,
seeing like meeting people like that, it's really inspiring in itself. Of like humility is its own lesson. Um,
it
so
is.
yeah, but it's been yeah,
Yeah.
man,
I mean, like,
like LA.
so I know that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, I wanted to start off by like talking about how you and I kind of became friends. We have a big age difference. I know that because you're always like this little cool ass like spiky haired kid that came through the dairy, and I always knew you as
Yeah,
like Crystal's little brother. And I was like,
yeah,
this kid's fucking cool. He's like 10 years old, but he's cool as fuck. And I was like, who is this kid? Like, and that's how I remember you when you were, like way young, right? But you were always this cool kid that came through the dairy. You always say, "What's up, man?" Like, you just always had a cool vibe, and I was like, "Man, I love this kid. He's fucking badass." And I think we're like what, like 7 or 8 years apart?
yeah. I mean, I was 12 and you were 21, I think. I remember we would talk
Yeah.
about we
So
were
yeah,
reversed. Oh no,
yeah, that's
has it
right.
happened
That's
to you?
right. That's right.
Yeah.
No, you're good. You're
12
good.
still is my, oh, shoot, am I losing?
Well,
But
you showed up at a party and wanted to come into my party. You're only 12 years old, and I'm like, I don't know, that's a little young, man. And I was like, "You're the coolest fucking little kid, dude, that I know." But I think you and a buddy were there, and I'm like, "You guys are fucking young." I'm like, "Nah, dude, you're fucking 12. You got to go." And then it just kind of became where like that was your nickname from me was like, "Nah, you're 12."
and and thank you for that. And I'm so sorry I put you through that. Like you always looked out for me. You and like what was the band Massive, like Ramses, like you guys were always so
Mm-hmm.
nice to me. And obviously Bonham, dude, is like my brother for life. I mean, if I didn't grow up next to those guys, and even you, it like I don't know if I'd still be doing this. And I remember like the first time like I was like trouble, literally. I got kicked out of like my house when I was 12. Probably smoking a half a pack of cigarettes a day, straight up Lake LA style. And my dad was like, hell no. I went to Washington and like got my shit together, and I came back, and like What For I think was what it was. There might have been a newer band, and we were jamming, right? And like you were like, dude, I'm into it, but like you can't go to a bar if you're 12. You can't play half the
Yeah.
places, and yeah,
Well, when you tried out, I remember you tried out for What For, and I remember I heard you play drums with Bonham and I think Kyle Doro. I heard you play, and I was like, "Man, this kid fucking rips." And so me and Kyle were starting a band together, and that was the new band that we started after What For. It was going to be, it actually was What For in the beginning, but then I realized that this is a totally different style of music, that we're not playing anything like, it's not ska. We're not playing that. We were playing more like new metal or like hardcore punk
yeah,
was what it was. And so I changed the name. We ended up coming up with Slum Tree. But when we first started it, I was like, this kid rips. Like, we need a drummer. Let's let him play. And then we started realizing that, we were all like going to be playing, if we're going to play all these bars and stuff like that, like your audition went perfect. Like, you did everything right. The only thing we didn't like was your age. It was like, this kid fucking rips. He's perfect
yeah,
for what we need. But we're like, he's like 15. He's like 14, something like that. But he's playing these fucking punk beats and like this is what we want.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
wasn't until a few months later where I met Johnny and found out he played. But like, I was
Shout out to you,
disappointed.
man. He's back.
Oh yeah, dude, it worked out. He was a little older, and it was like okay, but
Yeah, I love Kyle, man. I love him still killing it. His band is amazing,
oh
and
yeah, hell yeah,
really proud of Kyle. If you listen, we love you, bro. Like, thanks for everything too, man. Like, all you guys were so good to me, and if I can ever return the favor, like even now talking about making music with you again is like honestly been a dream of mine to like be able to do this. So I'm really stoked. But I remember that rehearsal, and I was like kind of dipping into like it was kind of like Sublime was like the gateway drug to punk. And there's like No Effect, Drublick, and I went to your house, and I think you had actual records. It might have been CDs, in my head looked that way, and like I remember seeing like Sick of It All, And like you were
Yeah.
telling me, it all like strung out like before Teenage Thrill, which like kind of they sound like RKL, it's like way more metal, and that just opened my mind. I was like, holy shit! Like these records are fucking like you turned me on to so much shit. And then it was Bad Brains was the next thing, and then it was just like all of a sudden HR's coming out to Victorville and playing with us when we're like 17 years old and like crazy shit like that, you know, just like opened up so many walls. But I mean, forever, like those years for me were so formative, man, to just being a fan of music, you know, and opening my mind to everything. And like, and you look amazing, man. I've like hung with you recently in person and like, I'm glad we got to connect. And like, you're still like such a, that same 21-year-old dude, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously you're responsible, but like you're still super cool. And I think we both music, especially punk, has like kept us alive and our minds open.
Really.
And you know, we like there's shit in the world like dividing and just like sparring people. And we've always like had that like that ideals and like you know like wait a minute, fuck politics, we're punk, we don't vote or like we don't do this or like you know what I mean, we
Yeah.
got to stick together. It's like us versus the government, not like they're gonna step up for us, you know, or like whatever. But I just again to sum it all up, I'm super grateful for all those years, man. I don't think I would have had half the experiences if I wasn't lucky enough to grow up next to you, you know? So thank you for that.
You know what's funny is like like you say that, and like I hear that a lot. Where I influenced a lot of guys that we had a lot of good musicians that were out there in Lake LA, and like Kyle, like
Yeah.
No Bonham, he toured for a while with the band, and like all the stuff you're doing, and a lot of all you guys are telling they tell me those things like you influenced us because I'm older, a little older than all you guys, right? And the thing is I was just a fucking like punk rock kid that I heard punk rock. Like I was looking up to people like Jojo Ackerman, who was playing in like Terminal Holocaust back in like the late 80s and 90s. And
Yeah.
he actually gave me my first guitar lessons, and he showed me some CDs, he showed me
Wow.
his bands and stuff like that. And I went to one of his shows, Terminal Holocaust, and he was like ripping it, dude. And I'm like, this is punk rock. He showed me punk rock for the first time. The only punk rock I had heard, like
Oh,
I literally wore a Nirvana t-shirt over to his house thinking I was a cool ass little fucking 15-year-old kid. And
yeah.
that's my idea of
Yeah.
punk rock was, right? I was like, yeah, punk rock, and he was like, that's good, but this is punk rock. And he showed me like Black Flag, Bad Brains. He showed me all that shit, right? Like gave me all these fucking like tapes. He'd give me like a stack of tapes, some of them mixed tapes, and he's like, this is the shit you should listen to. And then I'd bring them back to him after my next guitar lesson. He'd give me more, and that's who I looked up to. Um, I started. I wanted a guitar from my dad. I wanted a guitar so bad, and he got me this really shitty guitar, and I started playing it, started playing punk rock, and then I took it from there. But it was like I looked up to him, and I was just like
Yeah.
I just wanted to play live music, dude. I saw people playing live music. I was like, that's my dream. That's what I want to do. And then all the younger guys like you were like looking up to my band, What For, saying like, this is what I want to do. And it fucking blows me away how like I just wanted to play music, and I'm so happy that I was able to like influence all you kids. And now you're still like, some of you like you and Kyle are still out there killing it, bro. Like when I saw Kyle in
Oh,
that
dude.
band, I was like, fuck, dude, that's my boy, like he's still killing it. He's in his 40s killing it, but
So proud, dude. I really am. And like, and even you too, man. I think what it was is you always had that like every like scene or like, especially when we're in like a small ass town where it's either like you're a fucking gangster, you're a tweaker, or a punk, or probably all three. But
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
those situations there was not really much to do, and I think like we could literally all say punk rock saved our lives,
it really
and
did.
it just kind of like it became like you were the guy that you looked fucking cool. I just remember like you go to the store like the cool fucking skater dude that was like that shirt on and like he's had a cool vibe. But you were like I don't say the Godfather, but you were the one that was like had the open arms, like come to my house, let's listen to music. Like a lot of people were just like fuck this kid, or whatever. And you were one of the people that like embraced me and like inspired me, And I think you did that for a lot of people. Was just that like the dad in you, if you will. And also too in so many other ways, watching you still hold on to that, but be a fucking standout father and like not to go too personal, but even my own conversation we had a person going in a sober route and being like, I want to live for myself and like I spent this much time here and like still having that spark. And I watched that happen with the Interrupters or a lot of bands that kind of like, hey, I'm gonna turn my shit around and like really excel now. And I think that's been really cool to watch you do that. Inspiring on a whole other level. So you still are that like center figure. Like I can be a musician or a punk or whatever I want to be and like be a good dad and still have fun and take my kids to shows and like things like that. So it's really cool to like watch you do that, man, and in a whole nother way. But you definitely were like the fucking kingpin of it all. You know what I mean? Shout out Dan, dude. Like trippy dude. Like just always so cool. And like the band you guys had was one of my favorite. Johnny on drums and Kyle
Yeah.
and like he's truly a genius in his own right of just like almost introverted in that way, But I mean, Danny was such a big part. Like he lived around the corner from me, and I remember going to his house and meeting him and like skating, and like he turned me into hip hop, like hardcore, a lot of different things. And we would like leave the desert together. I was like ditching school in like 10th grade to go to like the Troubadour, and he would give me a ride, or like I took the bus and meet him there, and like we saw like American Nightmare, like there, like early shows of just like crazy shit, dude. That like.
Yeah.
I was like at the first Avenged Sevenfold shows, like their drummer would like get me in, and like they were actually like a hardcore band back in the day. It was just like so cool. But that all sparked in Lake LA, and I wouldn't trade for the world, man. I mean, if I grew up in the city, I don't know how I'd be. Or I feel like we always had that. And the thing is, being so young, I think, gave me more time to like live the dream. Like you guys inspired me at an age where everyone's like, "You're way too young to be doing this, man." Like, what do? You can't dress or look or listen to this. And it ended up becoming like, I'm too old to be doing it now. 38 man. Like, it's like, but I mean, we just love it, and that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is like chasing it and living for yourself. And you got to be responsible. And we have kids and people that rely on us. But I think always just like, I would much rather have the memories I have than like, a fucking house or something like that. I feel like I've like really lived my life as full as I can to an extent, and there's a lot more to live too,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's like you were touching on the sobriety thing. It changed my whole aspect on a lot of things. Cause like I really just worked and drank when I didn't do anything else. Couldn't play music. I couldn't do anything creative. All I did was I was always sick, and it was like I worked and I drank, and I tried to pretend I wasn't sick when I was around my kids, and I always provided it. I always made that kind of stuff happen. But now, ever since I got sober, like my mind's so clear, and I'm doing things like this podcast, and I'm doing, I'm writing music again, and I'm doing all these other things, and trying to do the same thing, like inspire people to, maybe if you're having an issue drinking or drugs or anything like that, hey, look, this is what I've done. Like you can do it too. Anybody can do it. And it's changed my life completely. Like I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life. I'm healthier than I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm going to live a long ass life. We got a lot of fucking music coming, this year, a lot more podcasts. What for's coming back, dude? What for's coming back? We're announcing it here, guys. Like all you people listening to this right now, all 5 of you that listen to this podcast, just kidding. Like we have some big news because, what for's coming back this year. And I mean, we're going to put out an album. We got an album coming sometime this year. I'm excited for that, dude. We were just talking about that, how you're going to be laying down some drum tracks soon. And I'm excited, dude. We're going to put some old songs together, and then we're going to write some new ones, dude. And what for's coming back?
Wimpy was like the Lake LA anthem, dog.
It really
I mean? I was
was.
Like, right now, don't make me do it.
It was so funny that song, and like everybody loved that song, and it was just kind of a joke when we wrote it. Like when me and Tommy wrote that song, it was like, we're gonna sing it like Fat Mike from NoFX, and everybody loved that song, and it is a really, really good song. It is funny, and everybody still remembers it. When I put out that video that I just made, everybody was like I fucking remember that song. I was getting like DMs all day, fucking, I remember that fucking song. I love that song.
Like the band, as a kid, I was like, dude, they're really fucking doing it. Like our bands are happening, and Bonham's Garage, like that band's cool. They're good. Like they look cool. They fucking and you were just, that's what I'm saying. Like I was just so fucking shocked by all that shit, and it was like really, really cool, man, to see happen, But I was like, I was about it from the jump, dude, and even going back onto like this, between you and me, like you really, I mean, I literally showed up literally in such a pivotal time of like your life experience was just so like, Lyle, this is where I'm at. Even like seeing you in a happy, healthy relationship with a really cool partner and like holding it down and just like, it's so much when you're present. It means so much more, everything. And even playing music, it's like, I'm never going to judge anyone or, whatever. I still like dabble in drinking a little bit, but definitely not like the level I was at, and it's like, I have a great partner now again too. And just like really living life in a good way and healthy. And, my kids are like being a good example of what to do, in that situation. So I'm really just, grateful for you in that too as well. If I haven't said it enough.
No, I
But
appreciate that. We do it for the kids, bro. Of
yeah, can I ask you a question now?
course. Oh, you're gonna interview me now. This is my show, bro. This is my fucking show.
The internet didn't exist, right, back then. Like, we were like, my first tour, actually, I did it on a phone book when I was 16 to Chicago. It was like, no GPS, you had to go buy an atlas. So, like, culture wasn't, like, MTV was kind of cool, but, like, Fat Records and Epitaph, like, those compilations were everything. Like, if you get on those, so, like, as a kid, you said, like, JoJo Ackerman was a big part of that, but, like, what got you into alternative music? Like, what was the first rock or piece of music where, like, I want to play guitar, Like,
Yeah.
what was it for you?
Great question. So before I started getting into that kind of stuff, I was into like, I never liked top 40 stuff. Like I kind of liked Michael Jackson. I was trying to be cool, right? I was trying to be popular. I just wanted to be like cool, like all the popular kids in my middle school. And
Yeah.
then and then so I was into like LL Cool J and stuff like that, right? Like I was into like the 80s stuff because that was like, it seemed heavier to me, right? Like, and then I heard like, yeah,
LL.
yeah, fuck yeah. And then I was watching, I had a friend that was into like rock music, right? And he got me into like Motley Crue and stuff like that in the late 80s. So I started, that was my first like guitar rock that I was into. And then I think the first thing I heard that was a little heavier was Metallica, the Black Album. But it wasn't doing it for me because at that time I needed something. Nothing was really like hitting me, right? Where I was like, that's it right there, nothing. And I started hanging out with all the stoners and stuff like that. I went from being like a nerd to like trying to be a stoner. Actually grew my hair long and was trying to be like them.
Yeah.
And then I heard Metallica. They were playing like Slayer, stuff like that. I really wasn't into it. Now I fucking love Slayer, but back then that wasn't it. And then Metallica came out. I was like, okay, I like that. That's okay. That's part of it. That's not it though. And then of course, like everybody's gateway was Nirvana, and Nevermind came out, and I was like, this is it. This is what I like. And that was my gateway to everything else. And I read articles, I was watching videos. I have a VCR recording anytime like they showed a Nirvana video or a live performance, and I just was obsessed with Nirvana. I started dressing like Kurt Cobain, I was all grunge and stuff like that for almost a year. And then, like I said, I met JoJo. My dad actually worked with JoJo before he was a major like tattoo artist. My dad knew him, and he said, "Hey, this guy, what's that?"
That's cool.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that was the connection.
That's the connection. My dad worked at Northrop Grumman, and JoJo worked there while he was apprenticing before, because he wasn't making money, so he was apprenticing and he was working with my dad, and my dad was like his idol because my dad taught him work ethic and stuff like that. And he was like, he used to tell me, your dad's fucking badass. And my dad was like, there's this weirdo I work with, his name's Joe, and I want to hook you up with him, and he's got like tattoos and piercings, and he's your kind of guy. Yeah. And he's like, but he said he'd give you guitar lessons because you want to learn how to play guitar. So that's when, like I said, the first time I went over there, I think I was wearing like a Nirvana Incesticide shirt. And he was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, Nirvana, you like punk rock? And I was like, I had heard what punk rock was through Kurt Cobain and started listening to these bands, trying to look for these bands that he had talked about. And then JoJo gave me a stack of tapes, and he's like, these are I don't even remember exactly what they were, but he gave me like maybe 4 or 5 tapes and said, listen to this. This is punk rock. And I took them home and I could not stop listening to them. I was like, you have that light bulb, like, fuck, this is what I'm into. This is the fucking music I've been looking for. This is it right here.
Yep.
And then I went back, and like, I think it was like, I was going twice a week. I went back 2 days later, 3 days later, and I was like, give me more. So JoJo was my gateway to punk rock. And then he invited me to a show. I went to one of his shows, and it was like in Palmdale, Lancaster, or something like that. And I don't remember. It was in Lancaster, I want to say.
They were one of my first shows. Stand Against Terminal was like my second show I ever went to. And it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man. I was like bouncing off the stage, like just crowds. I was like a little rubber band. I was probably like 15 years old. I didn't even really play drums. Cartwheeling off the stage and shit. Like, it was so good.
I was scared as fuck, bro. I was fucking scared because they were fucking, I was scared.
I mean, that's what my whole like concept is, like punk and alternative, like was not, everyone wasn't in a fucking band then, you know what I mean? It was just like secret little club, It's probably why we were like a 21-year-old and a 12-year-old were homies, because it was just like, there's very few of us back then. And I find it interesting talking about Nirvana because the first band we ever had was Bonham Next Door, and his neighbor Chris, and we literally just did Nirvana covers. Like I wanted to be Dave Grohl,
Yeah.
fucking bad, dude. Like, all I learned was those songs, and like I remember seeing him like record a Foo Fighters song on MTV, and he did the drums, the guitars, and the bass. And like I didn't have a drum set. I called out sick from school, and I'd like bang a beat on the hampers, and I'd record it with a tape deck, and then play it really loud on my stereo, and then play guitar and record that, and just kept laying where I had like.
That's exactly how I did it, bro. That's exactly how I did it for the first time.
Yeah, and it just like almost the same story, dude. It was just like you'd be like, oh, he's wearing an SS T-shirt. What does that mean? And then it's like all the bands, like Bad Brains, Butthole Surfers, Quicksand, like all this shit that you see there, and like, you know. And I went to one of the museum in Seattle. They had a thing about Nirvana, and it was really rad. It was like their own description of like Chris Novoselic was like, we wanted to be like the Beatles and the Bad Brains together.
Yeah, I heard that.
Hippie hardcore band, you know. I love that. It's totally what they do, you know.
Exactly.
And it just goes to show sort of originality and like playing with conviction and like going against the grain, and literally drove Kurt Cobain insane to be like an icon. He's like, I didn't do this to be like, I hate my fans, which sounds fucked up, but like you know, all those tunes about it. But yeah, Nevermind's an incredible record, man. Like all their awesome and very much a hardcore rooted band, you know, which is, I think it's a good, you know, I hope we still have stuff like that coming out for the kids.
Yeah, yeah. And what's funny is like,
were you into Nirvana when Kurt was alive? I was gonna say I got into like 2 years, and so I was like, I always knew him as. What was that like when he died?
It was so here's a story I'll tell you real quick. It's a quick story. We had tickets to, a friend of mine got tickets to Lollapalooza '94, and I can't, it was in San Diego somewhere. I want to say it was like Dominguez Hills or something, like, I don't know where it was in San Diego. Yeah, and we were excited because Nirvana was headlining, and we were just so excited because I was so into Nirvana, and Nirvana was headlining, and that was the year. And I think the show was in like June. I want to say somewhere around there. Like it was a summer show, and Kurt Cobain, of course, died in like April, and I was so devastated, right? Because that was when I was like so into Nirvana, was when right around the time he died, I was just way into it, and I was so devastated that I wasn't going to be able to see Nirvana because I'd never seen him live. And I wrote on my backpack all these big things like "Rest in Peace" and, you know, all these. I don't remember exactly what it was, but and I was mourning. I was really like, everybody called me Kurt Cobain in high school at that time because I had the long blonde hair, just about as long as it is now, and I wore like the same clothes, ripped jeans, and I wore, you know, like I had like cardigans that I would wear and flannels and all that, and everybody called me Kurt Cobain, so everybody knew he died, and everybody was like, you know, oh, are you sad? And I was like, yeah, I'm sad, I'm crying, and all this stuff. And I'd be, you know, and we didn't have social media back then, so basically my social media was writing stuff on my backpack and writing, you know, stuff on my hands and, you know, stuff like that. That's what we had, and writing on my notebook, "Rest in peace, Kurt," and, you know, like, so yeah, dude, it was crazy. There wasn't too many people that were into it. It was mostly just like short, small group.
Yeah. I mean, we were kind of more of the minority. Like I remember in high school too, there was like maybe 5 or 6 punks there at all. You know, it was like, I mean, it's cool that way. You know, I remember when Tupac died, that was huge. Like there was like, it was a fucking uproar. I can only imagine what, cause I got into Nirvana like in 4th or 5th grade, and Kurt was already like a couple years out, you know?
Yeah.
So that's so heavy. I mean, I'm so inspired by that, dude. And like just how you were able to rip a culture and stay in tune, and like, in a way, you were like the of our crew. You were kind of like the Kurt. Like it was just like the leader, conviction, and like style. You didn't really sound like anybody, you know. And your whole band was cool. Like Tommy was fucking cool. Like everybody was like, these guys are like 3-piece fucking cool rock and roll band or punk band or whatever it was, you know.
Yeah,
we call it. But yeah, it was definitely like, you know, I'm still inspired by you, man. But like definitely, you know.
So,
what was your first concert? Punk show? Terminal?
Probably, yeah. I would say, yeah. That was probably my first punk show. And then shortly after that, I started, I met a couple people that were kind of into punk that I actually went to school with that I didn't really know were into that kind of stuff. I think I went and bought a punk shirt. I think it was Black Flag. I think I bought a Black Flag shirt, and a guy came up to me and was like, it was my friend Aaron, rest in peace. He came up to me and he was like, you know, hey, you like punk? Well, I got tickets to this punk show. Come with me. And next thing you know, it was like we were going to punk shows every weekend. After a while, it was like every weekend. And then I started getting brave enough to jump into the pit. And then I couldn't get out of the pit. And I'd come to school the next day just beat up. And what happened? We'd go on like a Wednesday. Oh, there's a show in Hollywood on a Wednesday at wherever. And it's like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. And we drive down the hill and fucking go to a punk show, go to school the next day on 2 hours sleep, all beat up and fucking still stoned from the night before. It was crazy, dude. Like we went to shows like crazy.
Yeah, pits were way crazier. I know I was talking about this because people weren't filming shows, it wasn't like when I shows, we always get our little piece. I mean, there's not hating on anyone, but like I remember seeing like Strung Out at the Glass House, dude, and they're like it was like by design, so it was like kind of poppy or punk fast, like speed metal pop punk, and like I almost died in the pit, and I met Jake Hiley, the guitar player, who's like one of my all-time favorite players ever. Like I love Strung Out, man. I mean, they're like
me too, bro. Me too.
Band. I got to hang out with Jake. Came to an Unwritten Law show we did at the Wiltern in like July, and it was cool to like talk to him. Where he was like, I don't want to say looking to us, but he was like intrigued by like Wade, our drummer, and like a lot of shit like that. And it was like I got to go to his house and hang out with him, and like was holding guitars. He gave me like some records that were like I was like telling him about shit. I was like, I waited in line the day that record came out, and he's like slowly just like let it on him, and he was just like, dude, take this. Like, I remember telling him the story. I was like, dude, I saw you go to the Glass House, and it was like Matchbook or something. The whole place was a pit. I got knocked in the fucking head and almost passed out. Caught back up and was right on top, and like went to the stage and like high fived like Jason, the singer. And he's like, dude, I'm so sorry that happened. Like, man, I was like, no, man, it was fucking amazing. It was scary. It was like you had to earn your right to like see these bands. It was like not only a ticket and a T-shirt. It was like you fucking survived the NoFX show. You survived the Rancid show. Like that shit was wild and back in the day. Now, I mean, it's cool. Like I'm older. I like to watch the bands. Like, oh, the drummer's doing a really cool thing, and the guitar's got great. But it's like, there's something about just moving. And at least when I watch bands, I try to like bob my head or like show them like I'm fucking into it. Because it's like when you don't have that, as you're on stage and like people could be like staring at you and loving it, but unless you show that energy back, like it's an exchange, So I'll be the first person to make a fucking goofball move and start throwing a fist in the pit or whatever, just because it's like we need that more, I think, in music, and less phones and more mosh pits for sure.
I definitely agree with that.
The podcast today is less phones, more mosh pits.
Yeah, there you go. I agree, though. I think that we need to. So when I go to a show, I usually will record like one little bit just for myself, and like I'll post a little bit on social media, and then the phone goes away. Like I don't sit there and record the whole song. Like I don't do any of that. Like I will just record like a couple clips of songs I like, and basically just like, hey, post them on like my story, and then we're good. That's it. But I want to watch the show. Like I don't want to watch it through a phone screen. I want to watch my the bands that I'm there to spend a bunch of money because I love this band. I want to watch them fucking play with my eyes, not through my phone. Yep. And I think you see so many people, and I get so annoyed with people just in there every song just with their phone, just like come on, like memories. Yeah. The memories are what's important.
Like that, they're like, come on, like they're just a phone in their face. They're like, okay, like tune it out a little bit. But I think it was like the Sublime Atmosphere show we went to together.
Yeah.
And you brought kids, and we had a great time. And like,
thank you for that, dude.
Kind of embarrassed. I'm just gonna get one. You're like, no, I get it. It's cool. It's that thing. But I mean, there is something about the experience, and like, at least especially with music and streaming, it's like that's really all we have now is like the live experience, if you will, to survive on or make a living or any of that. And it's like it kind of like is. I don't ever want to tell people how to enjoy a show, but I respect like Jack White or somebody that, hey, you got to check your phone at the thing. You'll get ticket sale, a professionally recorded thing. You can upload any part. You can take a picture, whatever after. Like, but like it does create that like experience where sometimes I'm like, dude, it's like even being on stage, I'm just like, what the fuck? And like I saw HR recently. He's like super reggae'd out. It was probably like maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and everyone pulled his phone out, and he just looked at him and like didn't even think he bowed, and he just like stepped back from the stage. So everyone put their phone away. I was just like, that's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
Shout out anything you ever want to watch a crazy punk show. Like look at the Bad Brains live at CBGB 1982.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And like HR gets punched in the face 7 times. Literally, and he's laughed, and he's like right down. I'm like, that's fucking punk rock, dude. Like that is
That's
just
punk rock.
everything.
Yeah.
And even more so, it's that I'm gonna go fanboy out on Bad Brains, but like just to put it in perspective, like I was really lucky to do a tour with the band Crosses for a couple string of shows, like a few years ago, which is Chino Moreno from Deftones, who we fucking
Crosses.
all the man, and just even as a person and like humility and humbleness, like that's why they're still who they fucking are. But like he tried to sign the Bad Brains, and he'll admittedly be like, "That's my idol, HR." Like that, the Deftones would not exist if it wasn't for Eye Against Eye coming out, you know, or the Quickness, or like those metal Bad Brains records, you know. And he would like talk about trying to sign him, and this is like chronologically when he came to Victorville to play with us, probably in like 1999, maybe like 2000, 2001, I think. And you know, Madonna was trying to sign him literally, and like forever, and all people wanted the Bad Brains, but like they'd get these huge showcases. Chino set it up, Showtime band. HR's like, nope, I'm not going. He would literally say like, fuck the devil, you know, and like just not to go too deep or weird conspiracy wise, but I feel like he's always kind of known what we're seeing be unfolded in popular music or Control, and he was always like, I'm not going to be a part of that ever, you know, and he's always the one that was like, this is my shit, like, you know, fuck you, you can't have it, and like I didn't even understand how heavy that was. So like that same time period, he's literally standing up fucking Madonna and saying fuck the $1 million deal. Weeks later, comes out to fucking Victorville. Me and my best friend Josh, you know, shout out Josh, who was his dad, Marco, was his like personal manager. So he's like, I'm gonna bring Uncle H out. He's always about like play with the kids, and like he could barely play then. I couldn't even hold my drumsticks barely, you know.
Yeah.
And we're like, learn something, and like he came up and riffed with the band, and it was just like blowing my mind, you know, but like not even realizing like how powerful he was. And he was like, I'd rather go play a fucking Veterans Hall in Victorville than make $5 million to sign a deal. And to me, that's so heavy, dude. You know,
Dude, that's punk as fuck, dude.
band, well, any band from the fucking Chili Peppers to like the Deftones to Sublime word for word being like, we ripped off the Bad Brains. Actually, they backed HR as the Bad Brains for a few years, like Bradley on guitar, you know, Eric on bass, Bud on drums. They still love that shit. Like I'll rile them up, like, go play a Bad Brains set, and we're like, fuck yeah, you know, like,
Yeah.
like kids, like that kind of shit's so significant. Even Chino being like, dude, like in my head, everyone was mad at me, but I love that HR did that. He was just like, fuck, you know, the shit. And I was like, wow, that's so cool, you know? And like, it kind of comes back to the theme of this too, in a way, of our conversation, is like being a father, inspiring the kids, like me getting my kids over to play with like the elderly, if you will, you know? And that's what HR was like. I always got to pass this to the kids. This is what it's about. Punk rock is literally for the kids, you know? And the same mentality you had looking over me is like, I'm going to make 12 fucking, when he's 21, he's going to be fucking ripping, you know? And sure enough, like, I always felt like I had to like hold it down for you, you know, in a lot of ways. Like it was like any kind of representing my little town and my scene and my crew. And like, it means a lot, you know, to be here today and talk about it with you. You know, I don't give a fuck if anyone, it's between us. It's like the most magical shit. So,
yeah, dude, I just remember feeling really bad when I didn't want to put you in the band because you were such a fucking rad little kid. And I was like, dude, this kid at 15 fucking rips, dude, we gotta fucking do it. But it was just so hard. But I remember telling you, just fucking keep going, bro. Don't fucking stop.
And kind of funny story is Johnny was great. Like Johnny was fucking smacking it out of the drums.
Fuck.
And he was really cool too, man. He was always like, yeah, dude, I'll teach you some shit. And like, I just remember being like, I didn't hit hard like that yet. So I got this complex where now I'm known as like, Lyle's going to crack your floor tom or like break your cymbals or like, so watch out. Where I even like Wilson would be like, dude, like he just fucking just hits the shit out of the drums. Like, you know, that's like kind of the thing. It's like simple and just as heavy as I can. Like, I'm fighting the drum set for my life or my paycheck, literally, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I built that in me then. It was like, you got to fucking smack the shit out of the drums. There's nothing more than a turn off than seeing like a hardcore band or a metal band that just the drummer's just like jazzing it up back there. I'm like, if people want to see blood,
dude,
we're like fighting the bull, like break your fuck. I mean, my hands are fucked now, dude. Like my knuckles, my my hands don't even work. I can't even feel them, but I can still hold a drumstick, and that's like all that matters, you know. But
yeah, Johnny hit hard, bro.
That instilled a lot in me too. Then to be like fucking just. Like it's when it's on, it's on. There's no turning back. Fight for your life, you know.
Yeah.
On the drum set. So.
Yeah, and you've done it, bro. Like you've done it. What was the first break you had to get to where you're at? Like, you know, like the first band or the first musician that said, hey, that got you to where like you were kind of known? Because you've worked with a lot of, famous people, a lot of famous musicians, and a lot of just really, good bands that are known. Like a lot of people. What was your first, like that first break?
Yes, I'll make this summed up as quick as possible. I'm glad you asked this. So it really started in Lake LA. I don't know if you remember Marlena that lived around the corner from us.
100%.
Marlena, we love you forever.
Yeah, she's
Killer
awesome,
mom.
dude. Hell yeah.
Her little pick drummer too. We were in marching band. She had a birthday party, and Bonham brought me, and there was a band there called Last Second that was playing, and I still love for a killer band. They were like already kind of signed to like Tooth and Nail. It was like a Christian thing. The drummer Travis and his cousin was Fletcher and Pennywise, so they were already like into Fat Records. Like I just remember seeing them play at Marlena's, and they were like the first like pro band. Where like the drummer still is like phenomenal. I kept in touch with them, and then he actually jumped on guitar, and we played some strung out songs together. And he was like, "Dude, you're good. Like, you should play drums. Like, keep going." So I remember keeping in touch with Last Second, and I went to go see him again. I was like, "They're a really good band." And my friend Tweak, Ryan Ziegler, shout out Ryan, incredible fucking guitar player. Just like one of those guys where he didn't have any training, but he would like watch Axl Rose play guitar and would like mimic it without even knowing what he's doing. Not Axl Rose,
Slash, yeah.
Sorry. Or like just could rip, or even on drums, I was jealous because he never played, and he would sit down and just rip double bass. He'd be like playing Slayer shit. So he was the first person where they got a new drummer, this guy named Bill Land, who's an absolute phenomenal drummer to this day, and I love Bill. If you're, I'll probably send this to you, Bill, because I love you so much. But he's like a ripping punk drummer, dude, and like I think he got recruited to play in Slick Shoes, the local, like, they were Tooth and Nail, like Lancaster's like touring band. So I was drum checking for him as a kid, and then Last Second was like, "Hey, dude, we need you to fill in and join the band." So that was my first break. Like they had a deal with Tooth and Nail, like a subsidiary, where we played like festivals in the U.S. So like by the time I was 16, I was like already on my first nationwide tour. And I remember my mom being like, "No, hell," and my dad was like, "Let him do it. He fucking sucks at school. Like he's ditching the. He'll do better." My dad was really supportive of that community too. Like we had all the bands practicing at my house all the time, and like that was our thing. Bill stepping out, and then Bill like ended up playing with like Fan Internal Affairs, which is like terror side hardcore band, and he played in a band Snake Eyes. So like Bill would like bring me in too. Like we'd go to like fucking hardcore shows at the Showcase, sold out, and the whole place would be like FSU and just like getting demolished. And I'd be standing behind Bill on the drums, like, "Oh my god," and like, cause he really opened up a lot for me too. I was kind of like his second call, and I feel like a lot of the drum world is that. Like drummers, like we have this community, and that's why I feel like I played drums for a lot of like drummer-led bands. Like my band Turtles on Speed that I was in for a while, Dash, one of my friends and killer drummers, he's played on a ton of records. His dad is in the band Three Dog Night. He's actually in Three Dog Night now. But they like managed like Fear and shit like when he was a kid. So he grew up with like that whole scene, and playing with him, he would like bring me under his wing a lot and be like, "It's one thing taking drum lessons, but when you're backing like a badass drummer, he's like, you can't embarrass me, motherfucker. You better play it," and like in a night, that was how I really started getting it in, and people would see me like on that way. And so from Last Second, I remember we did a couple tours, and I met this kid named Max Kuzer, who was like in a really good band, but he worked for Travis Barker and Adrian Young at their drum shop. And he had the sick like Orange County. And that time like Blink was huge, and like they were playing arenas together in like 2003. And I got a job. Like Last Second broke up because they were adults and had to live, and I was like the youngest guy in that band. And I like my sister knew his girlfriend, and they needed a apprentice at Orange County Drums. So like they're like, I got the job randomly. I went to the interview, and like literally I remember the owner, trippy dude, like the commercial owner was like, "Do you have a job, like a resume?" I was like, "I have my report card." And like I ditched every so I got straight fucking F, dude. And he was like, "I'm not a straight F." He's like, "Looks like me, you're hired."
You're hired.
Yeah, you're gonna be a good drummer probably. Got the job, and then that's when I went out with like Madball. So like I was roading. I was like 17, and I had no fucking idea what I got myself into. But it was the best. Like, I mean, now there's like Agnostic Front is like one of my favorite bands ever.
Yeah, me too.
Just like, I didn't even know what I was. The Cro-Mags drummer, who was like also the second Bad Brains drummer. I was his drum tech, and like everyone is like, that's the best drummer ever. Like he fucking demolished his drums, dude. Like broke cymbals, heads, every show. And then we were managed by Good Charlotte, so Rancid was in the mixing pool of like, all different music. And I kind of honestly was like cocky, and I got fired for being like a douchebag straight up. You know, and then back to Subway and like working at Subway and like bought a new drum set, and then that's when me and Danny started Mother Mary.
Yeah,
And
dude,
we met
you
like,
guys were so good, man. The songs were so
and
good.
and then our, my buddy Jeremy Bohm, shout out Jeremy, he worked at Backside Records, and Danny was really good friends with him, and they had a band called Thriller, and they wanted to take Mother Mary on tour, and he's like, hey, I have this joke band I want to start called Touche Amore, like you should be the drummer. And I was like, I'll check it out, whatever. And like I was in another band, Long Walk Home, like AV band that I looked up to a lot. They were kind of that like Terminal Holocaust era, but a little more like at the drive-in.
Yeah.
And they would like talk to me like, don't play with Jeremy, dude. Sorry, I don't mean to put anyone on blast, but they're like, don't play with that band, it's cheesy and generic and blah blah blah. And like they hit me up like 3 times and it never worked. Like I would like jam with them and it just. But he's like, he's a drummer, Touche, and now Touche is like one of the biggest punk bands on Epitaph, dude. It's crazy, Like I listen to podcasts all the time and like it's really cool, but like I was just kind of into that. And then once I got on that map, it was like LA, and I was getting hit up by like, I joined like a pop band called After Heights, Still Love Them, and like we were on Universal, we did a tour, She Wants Revenge, and then like, because before that I was always like punk rock, I was like fuck pop music, and then I was like, oh shit, this is cool, there's girls here, it's a whole other thing, and I don't like sweat as much, and there's no fights, like okay, and it just became like on and just sticking it out, dude. And the biggest thing I would say about all of it, man, is like especially when I moved into LA and was in the circuit and seeing like all of like my friends' local bands, like Now the Fever 333 or like shit like that were so phenomenal on the local scene. I was like, I want to quit, like it was just like, I can't compete. And I think that mentality switched in, like, it's not about competing, just do what you do the best and like support everybody. So I kind of just became everyone's cheerleader. I was like, I love you, like shout out, I'll be at your show, and then they show you that love back. Like you give support, you get support, and then they're like, that guy's cool, and half the battle is like, you got to be a good drummer. Everyone's good, but like being able to sit in a van with someone for 9 hours a day for 4 months is pretty fucking. That's a skill in itself, And like, I was like talking to my girlfriend about it, and I was like, yo, when you get to a city, it's like everyone just fucking splits. Like you're like, okay, we sound check. Like I'm gonna go off for 2 hours and like do my thing, and you come back and it's cool. But like learning that, But that was really just really Lake LA was the map out of it, dude.
That's crazy. Like, I didn't know that.
I just love music so much, dude. And I mean, again, growing up with you, dude, it was like having these albums in my face, and like there was no like it wasn't on MTV. There was no like fucking social media. There was no like you couldn't listen to every album. You had to buy an album. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember finding like the Ataris, dude, before they were even on, they were on Fat Records, and it was Joe Escalante from the Vandals on bass.
I remember that.
Who's in that band Red Cross, and like
Red Cross.
Gnarly, Josh Freeze on drums, and it was just like I still love that EP. It's like a cheesy pop, but they're like shredding it. And like,
no, I heard that same thing. I heard that same one.
Yeah. It was like I just went to the fucking Best Buy discount bin with my neighbor, and it was like $5 on sale. Fat Records can't be bad. Oh, it was. There was no like I'm gonna stream the album first, and like and even those first tours with Last Second, it was literally like we had to get on a payphone and like call the promoter, hey, we're running a little bit behind. You have dinner? Like, okay, cool. What's tickets looking like? Cool, you got it. We're gonna buy the atlas and make sure we show up. Like you literally had to have every state's atlas. It was like part of your tour budget because there was no GPS even, dude. It was like it's fucking wild when you think. I'm like, how did we do that? But a lot of bands, obviously, and even being on a bus, man, like touring always feels dangerous. It's like it's I did Warped Tour like that year with Madball, and we were on a bus, and it was like fucking like it's still crazy, dude. It was like it was so tiring and just always like I mean I was a roadie, but still it was like fucking it's not glamorous by any means. Like you really gotta want to do that shit,
Yeah.
So yeah, but I played with the band Bow Wow Wow, which is Adam and the Ants. And to me, really cool. That was a big in with like the No Doubt guys and stuff because like they were like Vivian Westwood and Malcolm McLaren, who literally put together the Sex Pistols like as a boy band in the 70s. They kind of ditched that and like we're gonna take Adam and the Ants, and they created that band. And that was No Doubt like heroes from the 80s. Where like we kind of like emulated them. And when I filled in for Bow Wow Wow, which my roommate got me a random audition, it's just like chaos punk shit and tribal punk. And then like Adrian was a drummer before me, so they're like, well, if you can do this, maybe you can fill in for us too. And then that opened up to like meeting Eric and Sublime and all that
Right.
community. It was like one band into the other into the other.
It all just sparked in Lake LA. Like, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it did, man. It did. I mean, we had the posters. Like, all of those records are still like, recently I didn't really give a fuck about Sublime, but like, I feel like me and Eric bonded over that. He's like such a metalhead now, but like he's not a reggae dude really. But like, just thinking about like, whoa, this is like, I remember like, all right.
Yeah. We're back. Yeah. Dude, I totally agree with that. So we had a little technical difficulty, but we're back. But I wanted to tell you something that I thought was pretty fucking cool about like what you're talking about, right? Like when you were in the band Terraplane Sun.
Yes.
I was watching a TV show with my daughter who was obsessed with the TV show The Flash. And they were in a fucking coffee shop. And I'm hearing the song playing in the coffee shop. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? That's Terraplane Sun. I recognize the song because I follow everything that you do. I follow. Like,
yeah,
I have an episode on my podcast to support the homies because like anything that my homies do, whether it's like painting or music, whatever it is, I'm going to support you. I'm going to fucking be there. If I can come to a show, I'm going to come to a show. If I can't, I'm going to tell you, hey man, I can't, but I'm going to support you. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to share your fucking videos. I'm going to do all that. And so I recognized, the Terraplane Sun song, and I was like, I'm fucking sitting here watching a show with my daughter. My homie's band is playing in the coffee shop on this fucking show. It was shit like that makes me go, what the fuck? And then, recently with, the Sublime thing with, hanging out with Eric Wilson, like Uncle Eric, I'm like, you're so like humble about all that. And I love that about you, dude. You're just kind of like, hey, I love playing music and these are my homies. These are people I met. They're just the homies, right? And I love that about you. You're just like humble about it, dude. It's just, hey, it is what it is.
Well, I learned from you, buddy. So, I really, though. And it all feels like the cool thing is like if we grew up with these people, we'd all be in it together. You know what I mean? Like it's the same kind of conversation, the same feeling like hanging out in the living room with you. It's like that realness, and it's like people forget their roots. They know what's up, and like that's really where it builds off of, and even like lessons of like that I've had with Eric in conversation about like, how did you keep your head on the floor being like a band like this for so long? And he's like, to be honest, he's like, I just try to stay in the light, of like knowing it's greater than me. And I'm lucky to channel this thing, whatever is coming down on me. And it's like, it's not me, but I'm always grateful that people care about it. And he's like, dude, he's one of the most humble dudes, man. I mean, you see the venues we were playing on tour and like, what was that? Like Ice Pack or whatever, Ice Tray and fucking, Salt Lake. And he's just there to hang out with the people that support him and like keep it real. And like, sometimes like, bro, maybe you should be like, there's some stalkers out there. Like maybe just watch out a little bit, but like, I mean, he's just like that. And you two are just being like, hey, I'm down and like, I support you. I don't care if I like the band even. And I feel the same way about you, man. It's cool to see you support everybody and like, I want to support you. And I've always like followed what you do and like watching your journey has been really cool, and inspiring. And the real shit, like at the end of the day, all these shows and fantasy world, it's cool, but like being a stand-up fucking man, being a stand-up father, being a great partner, all those kind of things, dude, are like, your lady's lucky to have you, your kids are lucky to have you. Even if they don't see it now, we all have those rebellious moments, but like, you're fucking doing it, man. So it means a lot to me here and, you to talk about this shit, more than anybody.
Yeah. It's really hard. And I'm sure, you go through this, like it's hard to manage having kids and then trying to be in the music scene. Right. Like, and I know you go through that too. For me, I had to quit because like our band Slum Tree was doing really well. We were moving into like shows in that were further away from the AV. We were playing a lot of AV shows.
I was there.
And parties and AV shows, stuff like that. We were doing all that stuff. We were killing it. And we started moving to where like we're playing shows with people and then like getting a name in other places. Like we were in like Rock City News. We had an article about us in there and all this stuff, dude. Like it was really cool. We were starting to make it, but yeah, dude. And we were doing all sorts of stuff, dude. And then house parties in Palmdale, right? And just all over the place. We were playing every weekend, like, and we were having a great time, and then it came to a point where I had a second kid and I was getting a lot of pressure to get out of the band because she was saying like, you're not making any money. You're spending more money than you're making. Like every weekend you're going out and spending money and you're coming back super late and you're drunk and you're, you're barely able to make it to work the next day because you had a show the night before, and I'm getting all this pressure. And I was like, but we're really doing good. We're going to make it. We're going to do, like someone's going to sign us to a small label, and we're going to be putting out an album soon. And this is the whole thing. We're playing shows. We're doing it. We're getting big. We're really talented. Like the guys I'm playing with were so fucking talented.
Yeah.
And our songs we were writing were getting so complex, and they were hardcore songs, but they were such well-written songs, and Danny's lyrics, and they were so good. It was poetry.
Yeah.
And we were so talented. And then I finally had to just pull away, and we all got in a big fight, and I told them, fuck all you guys, I'm done. And they took all their equipment, and I came out into the back room. I don't know if you remember that house we had on Ronar. I walked out of the back into the back room, and the only thing there was my half stack and my guitar sitting there, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, everything was gone. Johnny's drums that were sitting there for literally 4 years in the same spot.
Wow.
And we'd take them for a show and put them right back in that same spot. They were gone. It was like,
wow.
I was like, fuck, dude, like this is real.
Yeah, dude, that shit's heavy, man. I would say this to further attest is like, I've quit music like 4 times in my head already. Like when I had River, I quit Terraplane Sun. That pissed the guys off. Like, we're cool, but some of them are like, they won't even look at me and they're like, you fucked my life up, dude. I was one of like, I don't want to be away from my daughter. And like, we had label shit's weird. We were on Interscope and we kind of got fucked, and I learned a lot. We all learned a lot, and they have a really cool band now called the Palms, and check them out. They're fucking dope, and I love them.
Yeah, I did. You told me about them. Yeah, they're
and Mad Love. I mean, they lost a lot in the fires, dude. Like that's their whole scene.
Oh, really?
Palisades and shit. Like it's I can't. I was like, dude, I'll show up and fucking whatever you need me to do, man. Like I'm there for you guys, and I love them. That's like your first love when you have that breakup, and I wasn't the best person, like for sure. I like did a lot of fucked up shit, and I'd never been in a band. Like we started from the ground, and then it was like we're fucking playing the Palladium and like that whole thing. As a pop band that I wasn't used to, but it was like, overall, it's like every band, and this is what I was in the studio with. I'm playing with this really cool group called Unsound Sunday, and it's like the bass player. We have like members from the band War that wrote like Low Rider. It's like a trippy fucking band. We're gonna record.
Yeah, I've been watching your videos.
They're great guys, and we're still kind of figuring out what we're like. People are showing up for us, but like, what do we want to do? It's like I'm inheriting the old stuff, but we're gonna about to just rebrand it and the whole thing. But like I was talking about last night, we're in the studio, like we're tracking, and this is by what the cool thing about Terraplane Sun.
Okay, well, welcome back. We had some technical difficulties there for a minute, but you're back, and so we're just gonna end it right here, dude. It was a real like pleasure talking to you, bro. You're like my little brother, and I love you to death, man. And I'm extremely fucking proud of the shit you've done, bro. Like the accomplishments in music that you've done, and not only that, like we talked earlier, like the father you are. I see all the pictures of your kids, and those are the ones I like the most. Not the music. Like I like seeing you hanging out with your kids. Like that's where I'm like, that's my boy right there. That's my boy. You're a good dad. You're a good person. I love you, bro. Looks like everything's frozen again, so we will end it right here. If you guys, the picture of the video that I'm looking at is pretty funny. He died again. So anyway, he's having technical difficulties with his phone, but I love that guy to death. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to have a lot of editing to do on this because of the technical difficulties, but it was a pleasure talking to this guy. We're going to do it again where we can have better signal, stuff like that, where you can be on Wi-Fi. But I just loved talking to that guy. I love him to death. Lyle, when you see the end of this, I love you, man. The accomplishments and the people that he hangs out with, it's just crazy to know this was this little spiky haired kid that I used to just, I thought he was the coolest fucking kid in the world. Like he was like 9-10 years old when I first met him, and he was like the coolest kid. So anyway, that's it for me on From the Mind of Dick. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, just remember one thing, you got this. Peace.